I've never been really good at, describing things in terms of like experiences very well, like, beforehand. But I know some of you have definitely thought about like, what has my experience been like? What have I, thought it was going to be like? What it was versus what it was. I know mostly it's been about Spark, but I figured if I talk about Spark as like a whole, as my experience, I should probably start with gig work in general, just because Spark obviously wasn't the first app I used. So to start back in 2019, I actually signed up for DoorDash. I'll put something up here, what the first month was in 2019, I can't remember. I'll put it up here, up on the screen. Now, when I signed up for DoorDash, I just figured, I'll do it for a couple hours a day or a couple days a week or something where I'll make some extra money and stuff like that. However, for some reason, during this time, I was working at, I believe, Walmart during this period of time as a second stock shift person. So that's generally like, 1 to 10, 12 to 10, stuff like that. And it just, when I would turn on DoorDash, I was thinking, this is the craziest thing ever. I can't do this. There's no way. And I just had way too much anxiety going into a restaurant, picking up someone's food and then delivering it to them. I don't know why. It just happened. So the whole 2019 era, I didn't actually make any money. I may or may not throw screenshots up to show you guys. But 2019, I signed up for it, I think at the first half of the year, and didn't make any money. In 2020, I don't know how or when or why, but like I like kind of got over my fear for like a second, at least for like a month, because in, I believe it was April, I made about $100 on DoorDash. Now, once again, like I said, this took like a lot out of me because I just had lots of anxiety when it came to getting people's food and then delivering it to them, because what if you deliver to a building or apartment, it's not a house. That always just gave me so much anxiety. It doesn't give me as much anxiety as it does now. It still is a little like, oh, okay, I've never been to this apartment complex, so I've never been to this building before, like, how do I deliver? So, I mean, that's just normal, but it was like way up here, when it came to getting orders and delivering it to people. So I did that in April, but then after that, I'm almost positive that there were times where I was like, oh yeah, I should really try to do more. Well, once again, for some reason, my anxiety was just like peak level high. I couldn't do it. So the rest of 2020, I did nothing. And in 2021, I probably worked one shift, I'm guessing, one lunch shift maybe for a couple hours or something like that, and made $20, according to the whole list of DoorDashes in 2021. So, and at this time I was working overnight, so it was even harder to work on, work during the day kind of thing and get people's food orders and stuff. So I was doing that, and I was getting towards, I got my first COVID positive test, I think, during that time as well, because, this is the height of COVID and such. But I was getting really tired of working at Walmart. And so I decided that I was going to quit Walmart, and I actually wasn't planning on doing gig work full-time. I was going to quit and go work at a bank, actually, as accounting assistant, which I did. I applied and got accepted in a job there, and I had been there for I think 2 months before I quit. Now, the reason being that I quit was because of a few reasons. One, I did some DoorDash after like the shift was done, because banks are morning and then just as dinner rush is hitting for DoorDash, basically. So I'd go out and do dinner rushes with my girlfriend. You guys have seen her on the channel a few times, and she kind of helped me get over the anxiety, because she came with me a couple times, and then after that I kind of just did it myself, and I was like, you know what, this shouldn't be an issue. I should be able to do this myself. And so I started doing it myself, realized, hey, there's actually good money here on DoorDash. And, you know, I was doing a lot of repetitive tasks at the job that I had just currently got. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks. Sorry, I don't want to work here anymore. So I did that. And then I started DoorDash. This was, I believe, the end of January. So the end of January, I was like, you know what? I can make the exact amount of money I need to make, or like the same amount of money I was making at the one job, and do it somewhere else. So I did that. I started doing DoorDash for like, I don't know, a month or two, and I think at some point downloaded Uber, Instacart, Grubhub, you know, all of the apps, and then I found Spark as well. Now, I'm not gonna bring in like all the details when it comes to Uber Eats, Spark, or Uber Eats, Instacart, Grubhub, stuff like that, because I didn't really work a whole lot when it came to that that side of, you know, the business side. Like Uber Eats is the next one when it comes to the amount of deliveries I have. I think I have probably just past 100. So I have about 100 orders on Uber Eats. Instacart, I know for a fact I've only done 2. They were both for Cub Foods, which is just like another grocery store. And it was a horrible experience. Granted, you know, this was 3 years ago or something like that at this point. So it could be better. I've heard from a lot of people that Instacart's a lot better at like telling you where things are, at least like somewhat in the store and stuff. So that's cool. Grubhub, I don't know how many orders I've done on Grubhub. I know it's less than 10 for sure though. So I'm not gonna get too a whole lot into it, but I have, you know, I have done those apps and kind of like seen what they've done. But once again, you know, those were a few years ago. So for all I know, the apps could be completely different and look completely different. But anyways, so I was doing DoorDash as the main app. Uber Eats was kind of like there because I started to multi-app a little bit. And eventually I found Spark. So I had signed up for Spark, and it was once again one of those apps where it was like, oh, okay, I signed up, I have no idea what I'm doing, I'll just like, you know, let it sit there and not use it, as I'm sure a lot of people do. But there was one day where DoorDash, you know, it was an okay day. I don't remember exactly how it went, but I remember this vividly. I had, you know, it was like, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock or something, so it was getting pretty late, and it was getting kind of dark out. And honestly, back in my hometown, Duluth, I really didn't like delivering in the dark, because some of the areas in Duluth, just like every city, I'm sure, has like, you know, their interesting areas. But I was like, well, I've never tried this app before. Why don't we turn it on, because Walmart's still open? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. I had a girlfriend with me at the time, and 2 shopping orders had popped up. They were both sitting there, not being touched, and we were sitting in the Walmart lot, and it was a $39 and a $38 shopping order. And I was like, what? That is just too good to be true. You can't tell me that I'm about to go shop for someone's items and get $39 or $38 for one of these orders. So I clicked on the card, because, you know, that's what you do when you're curious, and I just looked, and I'm like, damn, it wasn't even for like that many items. Now remember, this was a couple years ago, so back in the day, Walmart's pay for shopping orders were way better in terms of that, and they had been sitting there, that no one had touched them, so they probably were maxed out as well in terms of extra earnings. So just keep that with a grain of salt. I don't have screenshots for what these first 2 orders were. I kind of wish I did back in the day, so you guys could see it and stuff like that. But so we went and did the first one. You know, it was not bad. It wasn't in like the greatest part of town, but it definitely wasn't in a super sketchy part of town. So we did it, and we finished it, completed it. We're like, wow, that was actually pretty easy. And then the other one was still sitting there, and we're like, well, crap, I might as well go back and freaking do that one too. So we went and did that one, you know, and made, you know, $77 in, you know, a couple hours worth of work. We're just like, there's no way. And so I was like, well, maybe I need to try Spark some more. So eventually, slowly but surely, DoorDash kind of like just disappeared off the map for me in terms of Spark. Now, DoorDash back then, if I remember correctly, I did have a red card. Of course, they gave me a DoorDash bag. I don't have a DoorDash bag anymore. By the way, though, shout out to Mary B. She sent me her DoorDash pizza bag. So that's awesome. Thank you, Mary. for that again, as always. And then of course I just bought, you know, a Walmart insulated bag for $2 instead of paying DoorDash like the $11 or $12 it is for their bag. But that bag got destroyed, so I don't have that anymore. And then of course I lost the red card or something like that. And so now I don't remember exactly in my area. I've never seen an alcohol order. I know I did shop and pays, of course, at Walgreens and stuff like that. I never did a like order and pay order, so there's not any of that. But eventually it just kind of slowly fell off. Like DoorDash, I kind of just stopped doing it because I got Spark spoiled, is what I like to call it. SS for short. And so I kept doing Spark for a while, and it was at winter time, mind you. So anyways, it's winter time and we are doing orders, or like as winter is slowly coming off, we are just doing Spark now, and I'm basically making at least $800 to $1,000 a week, which is awesome, since, you know, I had been making $600. Yes, that's wear and tear and gas and stuff like that, and, you know, I gotta keep that in mind, taxes, etc., etc. But you gotta remember I was making $600 gross as well, so I was making more than what I generally would in terms of that. We finished up winter and it slowly came into the summertime, and I realized, oh, it's a lot harder because summer slowdown kind of hits and you kind of have to accept orders if you want to make money. Well, the problem is I became really lazy because I was like, well, the orders will just come, so you just, you know, you gotta just deal with the terrible ones and just sit there. And eventually I'd go out for a couple hours, be like, oh, I declined a couple, and then just leave and then not make the money that I should. So eventually, as October, November rolled around, I was like, I gotta get a W-2 because I'm not making as much money. I'm not pushing myself to make the money that I should be making. And so I ended up working at Target, actually, as an overnight stocking person as well during that time when it comes to that. So I worked there for about I would say a year and a half, give or take. And, you know, doing the same stuff I don't mind doing and stuff like that. I just don't like working a W-2 because there's too much drama and corporate stuff like that, and I like to be my own boss. So I'm working, and during that time I'm working at Target, I actually was learning to potentially take over someone's accounting business. Throughout the year, I'd go up once, probably like once a week, once every other week, up to Grand Rapids, Minnesota, to do some stuff in his business. And I was going to go ahead and move. So once November came around and I quit, I had actually already moved up to Hibbing, Minnesota. We had purchased our home in October, and, you know, I had to figure out something to do in the meantime for the new year. I haven't done anything with that, obviously. I've just been doing this, which is fine because I'm, you know, making money and making good money most of the time doing this. And then of course I started the YouTube channel, which I really enjoy doing, and doing stuff like that. So that's kind of where we've been at now. In terms of, you know, what did I expect coming in with the gig apps? When it came to food delivery, it just was, you know, lots of anxiety in terms of, you know, well, can I really do this, or am I like too shy of a person to really consider to do this as, you know, a job, or not a job, but you know what I mean. And eventually, you know, I kind of got over that feeling and was like, you know what, I can do this. It's not that big of a deal. It's really easy and straightforward. I know some of you are probably like, really, bro, you got nervous or scared or whatever over something silly as that. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, I know there are probably tons of people out there that also feel the same way. So when it comes to Spark, I was thinking it was probably going to be exactly like DoorDash's Shop and Pay, where you'd, you know, go through all the items and then you'd scan it at the checkout and then you'd, you know, swipe it with a card. But when I didn't receive a card right away, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, whatever. And then when they told me, you know, you can scan the QR code, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty nice and stuff like that. So I would say that the Dasher app, or like, you know, food delivery, I was kind of like a little, you know, worried about doing it, because, you know, it's people's food, you know, and I prefer to, you know, do a good service and stuff like that. And after I kind of got over the fear of like, okay, you're just picking up people's food, you know, delivering it, as long as you know you're doing stuff to, you know, make it easy on yourself or on them and stuff like that, then that's great. And then when you got to Spark, I was like a little worried, but I had, you know, done so many DoorDashes at that point to where I was like, well, as long as I can figure out the app or watch YouTube videos, tutorials, etc., then, you know, it kind of is the way it is, you know. Of course, we've had frustrations along the way with, you know, every single app. You know, there aren't any that super come to mind. And, you know, out of the over 2,000 deliveries I've done on Spark, and now over 1,000 deliveries I've done on DoorDash, with, you know, the miscellaneous other ones on the other apps, I think I've been yelled at a total of twice. Now, granted, I've only delivered in 3 or 4 different cities, and Minnesota is definitely considered one of the, you know, nicer cities in quotation marks. So, you know, I can't really say for sure that, you know, if I moved, you know, to Florida, or, you know, one of the super huge cities, or even just down to Minneapolis, that I wouldn't get yelled at more constantly, or I wouldn't get tip baited more on, you know, often. Because, you know, I do get tip baits. I show you guys in my Spark videos that, you know, the pay does get lowered sometimes, and granted, you know, it might not be a tip bait, it might be just because someone did a percentage and, you know, they didn't find an item while they were doing the order, so of course it lowered because their amount that they paid was lower. But basically, I don't know, I kind of take everything one step at a time when it comes to learning something new. I definitely feel like I can be a good teacher and informative to you guys, and I want to teach you guys as much as I can. And so that's why I'm trying to do these suggestions or these videos where it's like I'm, you know, just explaining my experience as a gig worker, as a full-time gig worker, especially because, you know, not a lot of people do this as a full-time gig worker. You know, you're gonna have your ups, you're gonna have your downs. There's not a whole lot else to it, really. You know, once you get into that groove, you know what you want to accept, and you know what you don't want to accept. Yeah, of course there's gonna be days where you're like, man, okay, I will kind of like break my rule and I'll take it or whatever, because you kind of have to. But there's not really a whole lot else to it when it comes to doing gig work. Once you kind of figure out the apps and how they work, and, you know, what's the best thing for you, you kind of just go from there. So that's pretty much it, I guess, guys. You know, I feel like I have a slight advantage in terms of Walmart, because, you know, I used to work for Walmart, but that's why I made that starter intro guide. I'll link it up here if you guys want to see it. And of course, I just also made the double express shop, the quick little 3-minute tutorial on or kind of what the express double shops look like. But if you guys have any questions, just let me know, whether it be about Spark or a different gig app or something completely different. I know I'm getting video suggestions to do stuff that isn't related to gig work, that could be related to YouTube or Discord and stuff, so I am looking at possibly doing that in the future sometime soon. But I am kind of crazy busy right now. I'm trying to, you know, keep the lives going and stuff like that to hopefully get us to 1,000 subs, you know, eventually here, and then, you know, 4,000 watch hours. I think we're at 3,300 watch hours, which is awesome. I love all your guys' support. I appreciate you guys, whoever stopped by live or whoever comments or even just watching the videos. It really helps out a lot, guys. And, you know, I don't know if my experience is, you know, like, you know, my experience is my experience, but I don't know if it's kind of the norm hearing from other people's experiences. I just feel like it's so weird, because I try to type in, like, you know, gig work experience or DoorDash experience, but I think in order to get, like, hearing the videos that are people like, here are my experiences, it's almost like it's generally someone being like, okay, well, this is my first time trying this, here's my, like, thoughts on the app, instead of being like, well, here's kind of like the thing. I think I've seen some where it's like, oh, I wish I would have known this, you know, like 10 tips and stuff like that. I've seen those videos and stuff like that before, like, they started doing the gig apps and stuff like that, so that's kind of nice. I know I didn't share like a whole lot of experiences because, you know, there isn't a whole lot, you know, extra when it comes to the thing. Yeah, you'll get yelled at sometimes. There are long waits. You get orders that are crappy that you kind of are forced to take and stuff like that. The one big thing that I can tell you guys that I try to tell everyone is you just got to be ready to adapt and actually apply yourself and work hard, because yes, I will never make a video where it says, oh my gosh, here you go, here's how to make $200 a day, because like there's some days where I can't even make $200 a day. And you know, you guys have seen my market is crazy sometimes. But you know, with new drivers and with it being summer, not only are, you know, orders are slower, but people aren't, you know, buying as much because they're out doing other stuff and stuff like that. So it you know, I will never make a video like that because it's so market dependent and time dependent on what people will. I'll give you guys as much information and as much tips as I can give you. Like, for example, the one thing I can tell you guys is, if you have the time, if you are a person who has the time 24/7, so from when Walmart opens to Walmart closes, I know not every Walmart's the same, but I know most Walmarts are open from 6 to 11, I think. If you have the time, figure out, do a full week, maybe even a full month, where you try to work every single day if you can, or at least turn the app on and leave it on the entire time at your house. Yes, you might be far away, so you might not get any orders, so you might have to go there, but like, just take a month or something, figure out what are the best times in your market, because every market has good and bad times. Yes, you might only be able to get steady 1 or 2 in the best times in your market, but they gotta have, you know, decent orders somewhere here and there. From my market and from what I've seen from other markets, you know, because I have tested 3 or 4 markets before, it's generally, you can probably get 1 to 2 right away in the morning, so the 7, 8:30, you know, drops, and then it kind of dies off, slows down in like midday until around 2 o'clock is when it starts to like pick back up again. And from 2 to about 7 is generally like the prime time for orders. Like I said, it's very market dependent, so yours may not be like this, but this is a good starting point, I would say, for most markets, because like I said, I've tried 4. Once again, this is not in different states or anything like that. I guess I technically have done Superior, Wisconsin, but that's because it's in the Duluth, Minnesota zone, which is really weird. But I haven't obviously gone to all 50 states and tried, you know, Walmart's stuff like that. But, you know, try out your market, see how your market is and stuff like that. That's the best advice I can give you to start off right away. But if you guys have questions and you haven't seen me answer it on any of my videos, please leave it down in the comments. I'm going to at some point hopefully make a, you know, frequently asked questions kind of video. But you guys, I want to have engagement with you guys, and you know, you ask me questions and then I'll write them down. I gotta start trying to remember to do that whenever someone asks me a question, even if it's just the one time. I'll write it down and try to, you know, compile a long list of frequently asked questions so I can post a video out for you guys. But other than that, I don't think I have a whole lot else for you guys. I hope the, you know, the experience of listening to, you know, my past like 5 years as like kind of a gig worker / W2 person was helpful. Like I said, I worked for Walmart, quit, I then went to a bank, then did almost a full year of gig work from February until November. Then I started working for Target, and then a year later I quit Target, moved up here, realized, oh hey, I can actually do full-time again. And then once again, we're in the summer slowdown, so this is about roughly the time where I started to get lazy. However, this time around I've actually decided to put in the hours and actually work hard to get the money that I need to pay my bills. Like I can show you guys here, I'll pop it up on the screen here. It's not going to show you the money because Gridwise just started like a premium like a couple months ago, so I think it was in like April that they started it, so it no longer shows you the the money that you make on Gridwise, which is fine. But I will put up here, I think 1 or 2, maybe even 3 weeks I've had like 50-60 hours just to make, you know, $1,000 to $1,200. Yes, some people are probably like, oh, that's so much wear and tear on your car and stuff, and I'll even post the miles and stuff like that up here as well. But you know, it's just, it's something I like to do. Walmart Spark / DoorDash is just something I like to do. Yes, I get to be my own boss, which, you know, is a very appeasing to a lot of people, but I actually really enjoy what I do. I like delivering people groceries who can't get their groceries, who's too busy, etc., etc., and it's just very helpful to be able to help people like that. So yeah, I guess that's all I got to say. Once again, I appreciate all of you for being here. We are currently at, I believe, 556 at the time of this recording. Let me see. I'm gonna check real quick before I leave you guys. Yeah, 556 subs, which is awesome. I could not be here without you guys. I really appreciate all of you, seriously. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Stay safe, stay hungry, and until I see you guys again, see you later.